Hi, and welcome to One Patriots Place Live, brought to you by E2G And if you are listening on podcast, thank you for downloading. Please do not forget to rate, review, and subscribe. Your hosts today, Steve Balistreri, Thomas Murphy. I am Clare Cooper, and we are happy to welcome in the gentleman himself. A guy who has to put up with Murph doing a bit of a Zach Wilson and hitting on his mom. It is from the New York Daily News, our Jets connection, Mr. Antoine Staley. Antoine, welcome back. Thank you for returning to the show.
Well, thanks for having me today. Great introduction.
I gotta go.
That was the best introduction yet, Claire.
Ever.
Yeah, that
Just
was good.
ever. Oh God.
Yeah, that was good.
Seriously, Antoine, welcome. Thank you for coming back. We do appreciate that you have returned in kind of almost less time than what the Patriots have got to do their next 3 games, really, but still.
Hey, but before we get started, Claire, gorgeous hair. Do that more often. We like that. Okay, now we can talk. Now we can talk. Welcome back to One Patriots Place, folks. Thank you, Claire, for that fantastic introduction.
That's it. I can now leave. I have done my job.
Yep,
That's what I get paid to do. I am out.
Yeah.
No, you're not.
No, you're not. No. T, how's things down there in Jersey?
No, it's good. It's good. Yeah, I mean, they had the bye week, so I was on vacation, so that was a good thing.
That scares me. What's Robert Sala's record coming off the bye week?
I mean, he's only been there 1 year, so
He's either 0-1 or 1-0.
0-1 or 1-0. We're not quite sure. They're making a huge deal out of this up here this week. T. The fact that both these teams are coming off the bye. People are quoting Bill Belichick's record coming off the bye and yada yada yada. I'm more interested in what the Jets are coming up with 2 weeks to prepare for this. Did Sala give the guys the week off, or were they in rooms checking out film and going through their situations and tendencies and getting a little bit of stuff done out there on the field for both weeks?
Well, I mean, players were given the week off. I mean, some players stayed around the facility and still worked and things of that nature. Other players went home to see family. It just depends. I know a lot of the players were still in the area, just kind of lifting weights and things like that, or watching film, just kind of independently. But for the most part, especially with the bye being, like slam in the middle of the season, a lot of players just decided to rest and get their body right for the second half of the year.
Tom, the Jets, I mean, Zach Wilson in particular, seem very confident after their, how shall I put this? Their beating at home by the Patriots. I mean, do you share in Zach Wilson's confidence this upcoming game, or do you see it as kind of more from the Patriots side? Where are you sitting on this fence?
I think he just was probably upset with his performance, and he was probably, it's one of those games he wanted to get back out there on the field and wanted to play again because, that was the worst game he had played all year, throwing 3 interceptions. And, one of them obviously was trying to throw the ball to the sideline and then just, was picked up there. And then it was just a really frustrating game for him. So I think it was, I don't know if it was confidence. I just think it was probably anger really on his part because he had such a bad performance and he wanted to get back out there. But he is a kind of confident guy. I mean, that's just kind of how he is. So, yeah, I mean, that's just kind of, you just have to, take that for what it is. But, yeah, I think it was just a situation where he knew he played poorly and wanted to get back out there on the field. And I feel like a lot of the players kind of share the same sentiment that they were like, well, we'll see them in, 2 or 3 weeks there. And they're looking forward to this game.
Absolutely. And if you don't have confidence playing quarterback, you're not going to last long in this league. I mean,
yeah, not for long.
No, I mean, that's you have to have that. But I was more interested this week, and I know it's been a week since, but that game where they beat Buffalo at home, do you think that was a coming out party for the Jets? Because they look like a completely different football team than we saw when they faced the Patriots.
Well, I feel like that game against New England could have went either way. I mean, obviously, I think the John Franklin Myers penalty was big. I mean,
Right.
had they not had that, I mean, the Jets possibly could have won that
Yeah.
too, and that really changed the whole course of that game. But yeah, I mean, they still only lost by 5 points. I mean, Zach Wilson, he doesn't throw the amount of interceptions that he does. I mean, the Patriots had 10 points off of turnovers. It's again another whole complete game there. But yeah, I think a lot of people were counting them out, didn't give them much of an opportunity against Buffalo, and they came out and hit Josh Allen in the mouth, and he had one of his worst games of the season through 2 interceptions, and obviously had the strip sack fumble at the end of the game. They kind of sealed the deal, but yeah, I think people were questioning how good this defense, and I think they answered a lot of questions against Buffalo, and I'm curious to see what they do for an encore 2 weeks later against the Patriots once again.
Yeah. And I mean, that game against Buffalo, I watched it last week, and I just thought they came out with incredible energy in that game, especially on defense. They were teeing off from the first moment, and I think they surprised the Bills a little bit. I think the Bills came into that game thinking, well, we can beat the Jets, and they thought they would kind of walk away with it. I got that impression from their body language that they weren't prepared for the fight they were in. And I thought that was a really, really good, statement game from the Jets, because they're playing against a team that most people have going to the Super Bowl this year. And like you said, they punched them right in the mouth, and, they hung tough all day long. I thought it was a really, really good game.
Yeah, they rushed forward the entire game. They really didn't do a whole lot, and I thought Quentin Williams played particularly well. I mean, Jermaine Johnson, he came back, and I thought he made an impact too as well. Bryce Huff, I think somebody that's really underrated as a pass rusher. I mean, that like I said, the strip sack, they kind of sealed the deal for him. But yeah, I thought they attacked Josh Allen really well, and outside of that long run that he had early in the game, in the half, I thought they really did a good job controlling what he was able to do ground game wise too as well. So yeah, I mean, I think they got out the Mac Jones the first game against the Patriots too, but the Patriots made some second half adjustments, and they were able to run the football a little bit more effectively, and also moved the chains on third downs in the first half too, and I feel like that was really the big difference too.
Twan, you mentioned they rushed 4. How important is it? The games that I've watched, they have been getting home with 4. How important is it for this Jets team to be able to do that, to limit the any opponent as to any success in the air?
I think it's important for anybody. I mean, to be honest with you, because I mean, it's cool to rush the blitz at times, but when you're able to rush 4, I mean, you're able to drop 7 back there, and then it just limits what you're able to do. A team can do offensively, and then whether you play zone or play man, or part man and zone, but yeah, you're able to kind of clog those holes there that you normally wouldn't if you end up blitzing. If you end up sending 5 or 6 guys, they kind of you're going to have some holes in coverages, whereas opposed to rushing forward, you're able to do a lot more schematic wise. So yeah, I think it's important for any team, not just the Jets, but to be able to have opportunity to rush those 4, and to have a guy like a Quentin Williams who can also rush you right up the middle. I mean, that also kind of limits what the quarterback is able to do, because there's a guy right in the middle, and then you kind of have to rush into the outside, as opposed to an outside guy where you can kind of maybe run up the middle a little bit.
It's true. I brought up the subject of Barmore coming back, and how important it is to this defensive line of the Patriots, and limiting mobile quarterbacks like Josh Allen, like Zach Wilson, to just completely taking away that lane up the middle to use when things break down. Do you think the Jets are doing that with great success this year? Is that a change in this defense that you've seen?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's like night and day from what the defense was last year. I mean, they were statistically in the NFL, and now they're arguably one of the best in the league. I mean, it's a crazy how difference a year makes. But I think this is kind of what you saw with Robert Saleh and what they were able to do in San Francisco, and were able to have a lot of young players. And it was the same thing there. And, Saleh comes from the Pete Carroll tree, whereas like Seattle, they like to rush 4 guys and like to drop 7 as well. So, and like to have great corners. Like you saw that with Seattle, obviously, with Richard Sherman and, the Legion of Boom there. And they're trying to create, it's kind of a mix of what he did in San Francisco, but also, what Pete Carroll in Seattle does too as well. So I think you're seeing a lot of that come to fruition there. And, to have corners like DJ Reed and also Sauce Gardner, who could also play the zone, play man-to-man, stack up against anybody, that certainly helps any defense.
Yeah, Sauce has been a sore spot with me to this point. And I've yet to see a highlight where he isn't grabbing at least one shoulder, if not 2, or some jersey. And
all the good ones too.
He's really, I know.
He's getting some veteran type calls. Which
he is. That's my point. Those are calls that go to Revis Island. Those are calls that Stephon Gilmore get. You don't usually see.
He got a couple against the Raiders on Sunday.
Yeah. Yep, he did. He got a couple against the Raiders on Sunday. But no, there's a point. Is it surprising to you that Sauce is getting the respect that he's getting from the officiating crews? I'm sorry, Claire.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, you usually don't see, you really don't see a cornerback play as well like this as a rookie right away anyway, but to get those types of calls. And I think the officials just know, they go in, I guess they do homework on some of these players and they know how physical they might be. And Sauce is a guy that's really big, 6'3", lanky, long, and they figured, he's going to be a little bit touchy-feely there. And so far, the officials have kind of let him play. He's not holding the receivers. He just kind of touching them on the shoulder and, trying to get his stable ground. But yeah, I mean, you've seen those calls. You've seen those officials make those calls from time to time, as far as like those like touch fouls or whatever. But that hasn't been the case with him. So it is a little bit surprising.
Me now?
Yes, you know.
Me now? Okay.
You know.
Me now. Twan, you mentioned about the defense, and at the moment, PFF have got the Jets as number 1 in defense at the moment. I mean, so does this kind of give you any concern, or is there any of the Patriots offense that has you concerned?
Well, I think I think you saw in the second half, the Patriots were able to run the football a bit effectively, and I imagine they're going to try to do some semblance of that once again there to try to take some pressure off of Matt Jones. That you don't want him dropping back 35 plus times against the defense like this. So yeah, I think they'll be able to establish the run, especially with Stevenson there. They were able to get that ground game going and they made those adjustments there in the second half too. And I expect the Jets also to make some adjustments going into this game, knowing that that's probably what the Patriots want to do and attack their style there. I'm curious to see, after halftime, Bill Belichick did a great job of, game planning attack the Jets defense in the second half there. Can Robert Saleh also, make those second half adjustments? They definitely didn't do that the first time around, but when you're playing a guy like a Bill Belichick, you're definitely gonna have to, make those in-game adjustments correctly.
Yeah, you mentioned Bill Belichick.
I'm sorry.
Steve. Sorry, I got a quick follow-up. Just a quick follow-up. I do apologize. You mentioned Bill Belichick, and I'm glad that you did, because I wanted to ask you, psychologically speaking, do you think Bill Belichick owns Zach Wilson at this point?
I mean, till proven otherwise. I mean, normally, a lot of young quarterbacks struggle, unless you're Tua for whatever reason, but struggle against Bill Belichick. But yeah, I mean, they've done a good job confusing them there, especially like I say again in the second half. Then also Zach Wilson, shoots himself in the foot at times while making careless passes there. Mm-hmm. And I think what Zach needs to do is be able to. They've told him this too. It's okay to make the boring plays. It's okay to just throw the ball away and live to fight another day. And he gets frustrated by that at times when he feels like he's kind of given up, but. Against a game like this, against the Patriots, who feast on turnovers, like you just have to take what the defense gives you. If it's not there, then it's okay to punt the ball. or okay to just hand the ball off. Or I think the good thing they did 2 weeks ago against Buffalo, he was able to use his legs, something that I think
Yeah.
they probably should do a little bit more. I mean, I know they're afraid of, obviously he had the meniscus tear in the preseason, but he has enough mobility to be able to use his legs and also make plays that way. So that's something that I think they should utilize a lot more.
Yeah. Speaking of which, in the first meeting, the Patriots didn't get a lot of sacks. They didn't get one until actually kind of late in the game, but they put a lot of pressure on Wilson most of the game. They were, especially Matt Judon, he was hounding them, even though he didn't factor into the sack, game there. But do you think they will make adjustments on how they are going to design their protections this week?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think so. And I think they may get some help on the offensive line too. I know Max Mitchell is possibly coming off of IR too. Somebody that he had really good success early on in the season, hurting his knee and been on injury reserve ever since. But they're opening up his 21-week window, so he may play, he may not. I thought it might be an opportunity to also get George Fant back, but he's not going to practice this week or play. But having him, Max Mitchell there, who I thought 4th round pick, been playing like a second round pick early on this year, to be able to solidify that offensive line there even more, could help out in the game, when you're playing against somebody like a Matthew Judon and also that Patriots defensive line. So yeah, I think you're going to have to make adjustments, because Judon, I think, is playing out of his mind, one of the better, edge rushers there in the game right now.
We've had a really interesting question in the comments. Oh, from Chris Goodwin. Anton, if there was one Patriots player you could take to add to the Jets roster, who would you take? And for the 1PP crew, the opposite for you guys. Who would you take from the Patriots, Antoine?
Well, I think we just talked about Judon. Just imagine a world with, you have a Matthew Judon, but you also have Quentin Williams too as well, and Sauce Gardner. I mean, that would be just lethal. I mean, who's gonna stop that? I mean, you try to tailor you can't double team either one. So I mean, that's like a nightmare for an offensive line. So yeah, I would definitely take that.
I think I can answer this for Murph. Obviously, Murph would easily take Zach Wilson from the Jets just so that he could hurl verbal abuse at him on a regular basis.
No.
Well, it's funny you mentioned Williams, Antoine. I would take him. If I was the Patriots, if I could poach one guy off the Jets, I know Gardner is going to be excellent for many years. But I'm thinking, with a young player that's really, really playing well this year, Christian Barmore. I know he's been hurt for a couple of weeks, but if you have a defensive line with him and Quentin Williams inside, good luck trying to run against that, because who are you going to double team? You double team one, the other one's going to eat you alive. So that would be the guy I would love to poach off the Jets. I mean,
no kidding. Just a great pick.
Oh, he's
just a fantastic freaking ball player, and I love it. My answer is Brandon Mann. The Patriots punting has not been up to snuff this year, and stop it, Clare. Just stop. Just stop. There's something wrong with the man. Okay, there's something wrong with Bailey right now. And so that's you guys came up with some fantastic answers. I'm gonna go out with the punter, because special teams count. You got to win in all 3 phases of the game, okay? And especially this weekend coming up, one of my keys to the game is going to be make this Jets team march the length of the field, and I'm not sure right now that our man is up to that task.
He's got a case of the yips.
Yep. Something's going on.
Claire's shaking her head. I'm dying to know what she has to say.
I mean, Bill Belichick is a special teams coach by trade, so it's very rare to have that aspect not playing very well.
This week there were special teams tryouts. They actually had some long snappers in. I'm not sure why, but other than that, the punt game has not been spectacular. And like I said, the Patriots are going to have to be able to flip the field this week to keep a I don't want to call it a dynamic offense, but when it's working, a very efficient offense off the field and keep this score low. Go ahead, Claire. Go ahead.
I have a question for you that's nothing to do with the Jets. So, Twan, I'm so sorry that this is completely un-Jets related.
Okay.
But if you're ready to quit on Bailey when he's had a couple of, granted, he hasn't been playing greatly, but he has been injured. You're ready to quit on him now. So does that mean you're ready to quit on Mac now as well then?
No, it's not.
Well,
Somebody asked a
Bailey
question. If you could take one, so what are you
Okay.
asking Steve if he's quitting on Christian Barmore? No, you're
No,
not.
no,
You're just
but
doing this
that's
to
different.
stir the
That's
pot and
different.
pick
No.
on me in public. That's what you like to do.
Wow.
She's so mean to me, people.
Wow.
She's so mean.
See what I have to do every week, Twan?
Yeah,
I'm trying to keep the
this is
peace
always
here.
entertaining.
I should get the Nobel Prize. I mean,
You should. You really, really should, but Michael Carter has been you know.
I assume we talk about the running back, Michael Carter.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, they
Yep.
do have two of them.
Yeah, Michael Carter, the running back. That's right. It's almost like keeping up with the Joneses here in New England. But Michael Carter has been doing quite well for you guys. How prominent is he going to be in this week's game plan for the Jets? How the run game in itself?
Yeah, I think him and James Robinson, I thought, did a really good job, especially against the Bills too. I mean, Michael Carter can catch the ball at the backfield. He's a leader for the team offensively as well, and also you saw his running ability. I thought some of his big time runs against the Bills were key and kind of salting that game away. We talked about them hitting the Bills in the mouth. I think in the fourth quarter when they had a lead, they were able to keep Zach Wilson out of third and long situations by running the ball and keeping the chains moving. And I think it's going to be again important in a game like this. You look at the first Patriots-Jets game. I think the Jets had like 50+ yards rushing.
Yeah,
and that pretty much put a lot on Zach Wilson there. If they can get the ground game going, and with James Robinson and also Michael Carter, I think that'll take a lot of pressure off Zach Wilson. If he won't feel like he has to, win the game and do so much for them. So yeah, I think he's going to be key. Like I think that is instrumental for them to, if they're going to win this game, they're going to have to rush for at least 120, 130 yards in this game.
That's a tall task.
It's not impossible, but
no, I don't think it's impossible. But yeah, I think that's kind of what they definitely gonna have to do.
Yeah, this week, Antoine, a lot of people up here, well, up there, I should say, because I'm in Florida now, but in New England are talking about this next month will tell us a lot about where the Patriots are. And I think the Jets are kind of in the same boat. I mean, their next 4 games are going to be tough ones. They have to go on the road against New England. Then they play the Bears, the Vikings, and the Bills again. So, are the Jets taking that same kind of approach? This next month will tell us a lot about where our season's going.
Well, they always just say they take it at one game at a time, but I agree with you. I think it's definitely a tough stretch there. The Bears are playing better, although I think that's a winnable game. If you look at all, out of the 4 games, I think that's the most winnable out of all of them, to be honest with you.
As a Patriots fan, sorry to interrupt you. As a Patriots fan, I would give you the advice of just don't sleep on the Bears, though, just in case.
Oh, yeah. I think people.
Yeah, but yeah.
Oh, I'm not. I think they are a good quality team. I think they're going to be really dangerous once they get Justin Fields some weapons.
Right.
I think that's the problem there, and their defenses are very good too as well. So yeah, I think they can get him some weapons. I think watch out for the Bears, but yeah, I mean, I think it's really a tough stretch. I mean, the Jets could be in first place after this week too if they end up taking care of business, but they also could be in last place if they end up losing too. Like it's kind of weird in that whole dynamic as well. But yeah, I mean, they win this game potentially, then you get the Bears, you might win that, and then you go on the road against the Vikings and the Bills. I think we could not only could you see some possible prime time matchups, but I think a lot of people may talk about the Jets, being a team that could win this division, which I don't think anybody saw that possible being a possibility before the beginning of the season.
No, before the season started, I didn't think any team other than Buffalo had a chance of winning this division. So
I thought the Dolphins would make the playoffs, but I didn't know if they would win a division.
no, I thought Buffalo was going to probably win 14 or 15 games this year, but they're hitting a little bit of a brick wall. I don't know if Allen's completely healthy, and now like you said, the Jets could either be in first or last place with one game on the schedule this week. That shows you how tight things are getting. I think that this next month is going to be really interesting, not only for the division, but everywhere in the league, because there's a lot of parity this year.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, there's no really dominant team. I think maybe Kansas City is probably the best team in the AFC.
Yeah.
Because especially if the road goes through them. I know Buffalo beat them in the regular season, but if you got to travel to Kansas City, yeah, I probably would take the Chiefs more often than not out of anybody. But you look at everybody else. Baltimore is kind of iffy. They've had some issues defensively as well. The Jets' offense isn't necessarily great, but their defense is outstanding. But Miami is the complete opposite. Their offense is great, but their defense is really suspect too. And then the Patriots seem like they're steady, but they're still trying to find their way to the side of the ball. But their defense is always going to be sound. So it seems like everybody has an issue to try to overcome before the playoffs get started. But yeah, as you said, it's a ton of parity, and I think the team that can figure it out what their weakness is or try to not have their weakness exposed the most is probably going to go the furthest.
Yeah, 2022 is really Pete Rozell's wet dream, because it just seems like anybody can beat anybody on any given Sunday, and Rozell knew that parity was the key to success in this league. I mean, for a long time, it's ridden dynasties, but if you go back and to those days and what he envisioned, that's really what's come to fruition this year. And hey, I'm really loving it. I mean, after the Chargers lost the other night, every team in the AFC East is in the playoffs. That's a quote that's a question that our owner Buddy had asked me during a show a couple of weeks ago that we did. Do you think this can hold up, Twan?
Yeah, I think it's the best division in football. I mean, I know you look at the NFC East. I mean, I think it's as strong. I mean, you had the Commanders beat the Eagles on Monday night,
Right.
so I mean, I think that division is stacked too. But you look at the Bills still, like a lot of people think they're have an opportunity to at least get to the Super Bowl. The Jets and Dolphins are right there too as well, and Patriots are always the team that finishes in last place may win 9 games. Like that's
Right.
crazy. Like
That's
so.
insane.
Yeah, I mean, so yeah, I think it's a possibility. I mean, the Chargers should be better than what they are, but I just feel like coaching is kind of like
When are the Chargers going to find a coach? I mean, how much talent have they had over the years? Then they've either run into the Brady wall or just a stupid coaching decision that's knocked them off. Do you think Hebert is being wasted out there?
Yeah, I mean they have like 10 Pro Bowlers on their team at
Right.
one time. So I mean it's not like they don't have talent. It's just not being used properly. And then Brandon Staley, and he's had some questionable decisions there,
Yep.
In game decisions there. And I still think they're a team to watch out for. They still could sneak into the playoffs, but again, like I just feel like they should be better. Like they should be what the Dolphins are, like, or at least competing with the Chiefs up there in the AFC West, and they're just not being properly utilized. So yeah, I mean, you want to take advantage of those prime years, especially when your quarterback is on a rookie deal, because once you have to pay Herbert, then it kind of lessens then what you're able to do or surround the talent around him with.
Another good question from Chris. What percentage do you put on the NFL NBC flexing the Patriots Raiders game out of Sunday Night Football?
Yeah, probably about 80% at this point.
Yeah. Yeah, it's gonna get moved. It's gonna get moved. What do you think, Steve?
What's that?
That Chris wanted to know what percentage do you put on the NFL flexing the Patriots and Raiders out of Sunday Night Football?
I'd say 95%.
It is, man.
Yeah, they got the Dolphins Bills that weekend too. So
Yep.
that could be
There
fun.
you go.
Um,
Oh, there you go.
Probably the best option out of all
Oh,
of them.
I'll take a nap for that one. I'll take a nap for that
In
one, man. That's
Buffalo?
going to be a good game.
In Buffalo too, yeah.
And I'm sorry, folks. I know we're a Patriots, sir, but when we get somebody like Twan on, I just kind of zoom around. You're lucky I haven't started talking Red Sox yet, and that's coming.
Nobody wants to hear that depressing, like, yeah, we don't
Yeah.
want to depress the people here.
I know. Believe me, I gotta write about it, man. Oh my God. So getting back to this game, what do you see as Sala coming at the Patriots defense differently than he did in the first matchup?
I think you want to, I think they tried to run the ball early, and obviously, I think the Patriots knew they were going to do that. I think now what you want to do is try to maybe use the pass to open up the run. Maybe get Zach Wilson going. Maybe some screens there, short passes, slants. Get Garrett Wilson involved a little bit early. That way, it kind of catches the Patriots a little bit off guard, and then you can start to run the ball later on in the game. So I think you don't want to just go out and just start running the ball, like at least the first play. I think you want to do something a little bit different there. That way that you put them on notice that, hey, we're going to attack you also by throwing the ball, not just running the ball. So I definitely think they could, find ways to get Zach Wilson a little bit more, involved, get some chemistry going early in the game, get him some confidence, unlike the last game when these two played.
Do you think this offensive line of the Jets is able to do that? Are they going to be able to hold up with that kind of game plan? I'm leaning towards making this a rush first game for the Patriots, just to get this offensive line going that hasn't had a lot of success this year. And I feel that when an offensive line knows that they're going to go out there and knock heads with people, they get a little bit of a rhythm going.
Yeah, I think so too. I think on the Jet side, I definitely think that, yeah, you want to obviously you don't want Zach Wilson throwing the ball like 40 times, but I definitely think you want him to be confident early on. And I think part of some of the detriment I feel like of the Jets this year is not getting him going a little bit earlier with easy plays and screens and things of that nature too. I feel like they try to just throw the ball a little bit more downfield, and yeah, you want to take the crowd out of it early, especially in a hostile environment like in New England. So yeah, I think throw the ball a little bit earlier, do some short yard passes, and then be able to run the ball a little bit later on in the game. I think you kind of saw that with the Bills game too. So kind of have like a similar game plan as you attack Buffalo.
Do you think that this game could ultimately come down to who the best offensive line is?
Oh yeah. I mean, I think the Jets were able to get a lot of pressure on Mac Jones early on in the game, and I think they made some adjustments too. And also, I think one thing I did like what the Patriots did, they allowed Mac Jones to use his legs in the second half too. I mean, I know he only rushed for 17 yards, which I thought it was a lot more than that, because he was just moving around in the pocket in the second half. But yeah, I mean, I think if they can get some pressure on him, then I think the Jets could end up having a field day potentially against this Patriots offensive line. But also on the flip side too, I mean, if you can get pressure on Zach Wilson, that forces him to make a lot of bad decisions typically, because he does not handle pressure very well.
Yeah, that's kind of what I kind of meant. So, I mean, Murph likes to cut his game keys. I don't know if you like to do the same, but if
I
so,
do.
Okay. Good. That works well for how my question's going to go. What do the Jets need to do to kind of get over on this Patriots? What is that one key that you're cutting for the Jets this week?
Well, I think it really goes back to protecting Zach Wilson there. If you can keep him clean and have a clean pocket, then I definitely think they'll have a really good chance to win there. I mean, if he's pressured, a ton consistently, and he's going to probably throw the ball into coverage, and that's going to lead to, interceptions there. So I think first and foremost is definitely keeping him clean. Second is be able to run the football with Michael Carter and also James Robinson too. We saw the Patriots be able to, they took that run game away from him in the first matchup, and you want to be able to establish the run too as well. And then thirdly, get pressure on Mac Jones too, whether it be from a variety, obviously Quentin Williams is the guy I think a lot of people are looking at, but also other players like we talked about Bryce Huff, we talked about Jermaine Johnson, I think made an impact there, end up sacking Josh Allen 2 weeks ago in the game against Buffalo there. Just be able to rush forward and also, get to the quarterback, a ton there. So, yeah, I definitely think those would be just kind of the keys for me leading into this game.
Well, I think Murph's just made a note, actually, because I think Murph's just going to reverse them. And I just saw that he was slightly distracted. So just so you know, folks, if Murph's keys come out that are very suspiciously like Twan's, then we know why. You saw it here first. He stole them by the looks of it. He stole them.
See, I told you,
out.
Folks. Mean.
Because I called you out.
Steve, go ahead.
Wow.
Well, it's funny because I'm sitting here staring at my notes and I was like, can Claire see down on the table? Because that was the question I was going to ask Antoine. So thank you very much. So I'm going to flip the script, Antoine. I'm Bill, or you are Bill Belichick. How would you go about beating this Jets team this week?
Oh, I'm sitting like multiple players. Like I'm always going to try to have somebody in Zach Wilson's face. Like that's the way I'm attacking him. Like I'm gonna make him beat me. Like I'm not gonna let the run game beat me at all. Like I'm gonna make sure, we're all gonna stay at home. We're gonna make sure, have them gain like 2 or 3 yards on every run play, and then try to get Zach Wilson in third and long situation, and then just send pressure. Like sometimes you might be able to send 4 and be fine, but also if you need the blitz from time to time too, like send them too, because as we know, Zach Wilson, again, does not handle pressure very well. And if you get somebody in his face, and he gets flustered at times. So he tends to throw the ball in where he shouldn't. So that's the way I would try to attack him. Just always make sure you have somebody in his face at all times.
Okay, I'll read it. Chris has Chris has put in, if the Patriots struggles with the tight ends continue, is it time for Bill to text Ryan Izzo? Twan, what are your thoughts on this? And just be aware of the room that you're in.
No, I know, but I'll probably say no. I don't think so at all either. So I think that's the agree. I think we're all in agreement with that.
Claire sleeps under a Ryan Izzo blanket, just so you know.
She would if she could.
But it brings up a good question. Twan, have you been surprised that the Patriots haven't gotten the tight ends more involved this year?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what they like to do. I mean, they love, obviously, they love utilizing the tight ends too as well. And for whatever reason, it just hadn't got going. And I'm completely surprised because that usually, if they ever get the tight ends going, they seem like they get everything else going offensively too as well in the passing game, and they've really struggled with that. So I think part of their offensive struggles, I think, kind of lead back towards that not being able to have consistency in that position.
Yeah, there's been a lot of tight endage blocking assignments early in this season while we're waiting for this Patriots offensive line to come together. They've been held in an awful lot and have not been able to get out into patterns and get things made. So yeah, I'm with you. I'm hoping that's something that they can change. Now getting back to my distraction, that I went over here and Claire pointed out to everybody. I wanted to get your feel, Twan. How do you feel about this young crop of quarterbacks they're coming into their second and third years? Trey Lance, Wilson, Fields have they made jumps that you didn't quite expect after their early struggles?
I think it's getting back to what quarterbacks used to be. They used to struggle their really first 2 years.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, y'all guys remember, like, I think now all of a sudden, like you see certain quarterbacks have success after 1 or 2 years, and people just
Yep.
expect, like that's the norm. But I don't think that's necessarily the norm. I mean, it's hard, especially when you're coming from colleges and they run these spread type of offenses where they're throwing the ball like 50 plus times, or it's not as complicated of an offense there. And then you come to the NFL, and then everybody's fast, everybody can move, and then it's a lot more the schematics are a lot different as opposed to college offensives. So yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised that a guy like Trevor Lawrence is struggling. I mean, he had all this talent around him in Clemson, and then you get to the NFL in Jacksonville, then it's not as much talent,
Right.
when you go there too. Same thing with Justin Fields there. Not a lot of talent too, although I think we're starting to see signs of him, turning around too. And then you got a guy like Zach Wilson, who at BYU, you're not playing like Alabama or
Right.
Georgia and things like that, and you're able to chuck the ball into tight windows where even in if you play those teams like in the SEC, you're probably not doing that, and you're damn sure not doing that in the NFL too. So yeah, it's been an adjustment for a lot of these guys too. I think people just have to be patient. The third year, I think, is the thing when you start to learn a little bit more about some of these quarterbacks and if they can be, truly your franchise quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, go ahead.
I was just going to say we've had a good question, so please continue yours, and then I'll throw that one in a minute.
Never mind. Mine just went right out of my head. So go right ahead. Yeah, it just.
We had a really good question
right
in
up.
the comments. Oh, what impact does Andrews coming back have on protection? That's a really good one.
that's
What do you
huge,
think, Tom? Because he's so significant.
Well, that's huge because I mean, not having him in the first matchup, I think, allowed the Jets to be able to get a lot of pressure on Matt Jones too. So yeah, having somebody like that, an anchor on your offensive line, I mean, it's going to be significant, especially when you have a Jets defensive line that can generate pressure with four as
Right.
we do. So yeah, I think that's going to be big for the Patriots.
It all starts with the center, people.
Yeah, exactly.
It all starts with
Especially
the
when you
center.
go against a guy like Quentin Williams. So yeah,
Right.
I mean, it's really big.
Yeah, because
And it's got a knock-on effect to Cole Strange as well. Sorry.
No, when you get the pressure right up the middle, that's the hardest thing for a quarterback to get away from. A lot of times those edge guys loop around and you can step up in the pocket. But when those guys come right up the middle, that kind of nips everything right in the bud, even for mobile guys, So that's important for the Patriots if Andrews is able to play this week. And another guy that may return this week, I think would be really key for them would be Devontae Parker.
Yeah.
I was curious about your thoughts on him in this matchup.
Well, I mean, I've known Devontae Parker for years, like covering the Dolphins. So yeah,
Right.
I mean, the question is never about talent; it's just about him staying healthy. That's basically what it boils down to. And then if he can stay healthy, I mean, I knew he got knocked out early in the game against the Jets, but that's a big weapon. Big tall receiver there, and you're playing against two solid corners and DJ Reed and Sauce Gardner. So yeah, you're definitely going to need him to be able to get open. And if you had him for the entire game, then that's obviously going to be a security blanket for like Matt Jones. So yeah, I think that's getting him back and healthy. I think would be big for them too as well offensively.
Go ahead, Claire. Oh, okay.
No,
I thought we were going Claire. But one more question on the offense for the Patriots. Damian should be back this week. How important do you think it is for the Patriots to be able to have that 1-2 punch?
Oh, it's always important. I mean, you want to, if you're going to grind teams, like especially late in the game, then, having two running backs to be able to move the chains like that is huge. So if Stevens has come along, I know he's like the flavor of the month or whatever, and people like him, but, having Damian there too, I think it's going to be big too, especially, in a game against a really good defense like the Jets too. So you need to be able to have those guys interchange with one another.
One more thing on the opposite, on the Jets side of the ball on offense, how much RPO is in the game plan this week for the Jets?
Probably not a lot, but
yeah,
I will say this: like they used it more, probably against the Bills. So
yeah, that's why I brought it up.
Yeah, it's probably something to be aware of, but they're not a team that's gonna use it like a ton, like you see with the Bears or some of the other teams around the league. But I think they should use it more, especially considering Zach Wilson can move. Like
Right.
A lot of people don't know how mobile he is.
Yeah,
So
go back and look at his tape in college, and
Yeah.
he was, he was out of that pocket and making things happen. And one of the main reasons I don't like him is because of his style, but it seems like using him in that capacity would be advantageous to Sala, and I was wondering why they didn't do it more. But that was a great answer.
They're scared of injury.
Sala. Yeah, thank you.
He ended up suffering an MCL last year, was out for a few games, and then obviously the meniscus injury in the preseason. But players are going to get hurt. I mean, that's just kind of the process. But you have a guy that has a skill set like that. I think you're doing it it's a detriment not to use him in that way.
Steve?
I have one more.
Yeah.
Oh, Claire's got one more. Let's let Claire get in because she's got to boogie out.
I have one more, yeah, because I got to bounce out a little bit early, so I'm really sorry. So as of now, obviously we've talked about the division and how tough it is. Not to put you on the spot, but just for funsies, what's your kind of at this minute? What would be your prediction for the AFC?
Well, the East.
Yeah, sorry, the East. Yeah, not the whole thing.
Oh, okay.
Just that division. What are you thinking right now? Kind of realistically, what do you reckon?
I know a lot of people are down on Buffalo. I'm still gonna say they win the division, although it's gonna be a lot tighter than I think a lot of people expected it to be. But yeah, I'll give Buffalo a slight edge too, and then I'll have the Dolphins in second, and then I think the Jets and Patriots will be fighting off for third and fourth.
Is that a good enough answer for you, Claire? Is it?
It was an answer. No. It was a good answer.
Yeah,
I don't know how much I agree, but it was good.
I've said it before, and I'm probably going to say it again. That I'm definitely saying it again because I'm saying it right now. That nobody on the planet believes their own press like Josh Allen does. And when he said, honestly, and every time it happens, they go through this little losing streak, and then he ends up righting the ship in some way, shape, or form. But I think, his some way, shape, or form is the head coach of the New York Giants right now. I thought that Junior brought him back to reality quite a bit, and really centered and focused him. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what Buffalo does and how he handles this little mini losing streak over their next couple of games, because they've got the AFC East has a really tough schedule this year, up and down it. There are no cream puffs or cupcakes as we saw here during the Chicago game, where I think the Patriots kind of overlooked their opponent and started thinking about next week a bit too early, and it's going to be something else. T, you covered the Dolphins for many years. You lived down there in Florida. I mean, you were embedded in there. How shocked are you at Tua's turnaround? Is it a smoke and mirrors show, or is this kid really has he found it? Has he finally found a coach that believes in him, and that's translating onto the field?
Oh yeah, I think because he's confident. Like, I don't think we saw that confidence like his first few years in the league, and Ryan Flores clearly didn't want Tua. I mean, he wanted another guy in there.
Yeah.
He wanted, whether it be Justin Herbert or Joe Burrow or Deshaun Watson. Yeah, I mean, Tom Brady. Yeah, whatever. Like,
he didn't go to that meeting. He didn't go to that meeting. He wasn't on that boat.
But he didn't. Yeah, he didn't.
Flo wasn't there.
Yeah, he didn't want Tua, and they know that. And I think you have a guy, Mike McDaniel, who really believes in Tua. I think you saw that just kind of his introductory press conference, and they surrounded him with a lot of talent, something that they didn't do his first few years in the league. And want to get a home run hitter like Tyreek Hill to team up with a Jalen Waddle too. Armstead has been big for them. on the offensive line too, something they definitely need to improve.
Yep.
And then them going for it, getting Bradley Chubb, I think that was huge too, because they definitely needed another pass rusher to go alongside Jalen Phillips too. And then you still have, Xavier Howard too. So yeah, I think he's the real deal. I mean, I think he's an MVP candidate right now.
Yep.
He's up there with Jalen Hurts too, and you still have Josh Allen, and obviously Patrick Mahomes isn't going anywhere. But yeah, I think Tua's going to be a force to be reckoned with too. It's just going to be interesting to see, can their defense play well enough to have them advance late January, because that's the big question to me. I mean, and obviously them winning a playoff game for the first time in 22 years. So yeah.
And the big question around, Tua is, can he stay healthy for the rest of the season?
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's been something that's plagued him, and it's slowed down his development. But, it is what it is. And if he can stay healthy, the Dolphins, with that offense can score with anybody. They can get in shootouts, but like you said, their defense it's kind of hot and cold, and they can be had at times, but we'll see what happens. There's still a lot of football left to play.
Yeah, it really is. And, if they have to go on the road, then I'm curious to see how they're going to play in like a cold weather environment,
Right.
like a Buffalo. Because, I was going to say, when the chips were down, like when they had the opportunity to, have a chance to make the playoffs last year against Tennessee, in freezing rain, Tua had one of his worst games. And then also the year before that, the Dolphins had a chance to make the playoffs too in Buffalo if they win that game. And then Tua going 5 interceptions. So, yeah, so he has to play well in bigger spots. Like, he hasn't necessarily faced it yet. Obviously playing well early on in the season, but pressure situations, late on in the season and in the playoffs, then we need to see what he's made of.
It's a lot different out there.
Well, if they have to go to Buffalo in January.
Bye, Claire.
Bye, Don. So lovely to properly meet you. So see you. Lovely to have you. Thank you very much. I gotta go. Have fun.
All right. Take care.
And our viewership just dropped to 1,700 people because most people are just here for Claire. And but no, Steve, go ahead, finish your point. I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say, if they have to go to Buffalo, not only is it cold, but as we saw last year in the Patriots game, when they went to Buffalo, the wind can really play havoc on a team's passing game. If you don't have a cannon like Josh Allen does, it could affect your passing game. And we know the Dolphins' strength on offense is strictly through the air.
Yeah, right. I mean, I know Wilson, who they got from San Francisco, is giving them, gave them some good spark against the Browns too. But they're going to have to be able to run the ball and do it more consistently. If they can do that, then I think they can win a game or two. But I think running the ball and playing defense, that's really the keys to winning in this league late.
It is, and it's kind of surprising with the way the rules have changed over the years and how much easier it is to get the ball down the field, that we're seeing this pendulum swing back to the running game and a lot of I don't want to say a power running game that we saw in the early and late 70s, but it's definitely not what it was 5 or 10 years ago when we had the real gunslingers coming out here. And I lost my question again. This is why I need to frickin' take notes. I need to take notes. Steve, you got something else?
That's what I do.
There you go.
I make notes so I don't lose my train of thought. Now, I was just curious, Antoine, because prior to the season, I know how the Jets and Patriots are always playing tough with each other, even though they're the losing streak the Jets have against New England is 13 games now. But
games.
It always seems like a knockout, drag out fight between these two teams. Before the season began, I thought they were going to split. I figured each team would win at home. Didn't quite work out that way, but what do you think the chances are the Jets go up to New England and break their lucky streak of 13?
It wouldn't surprise me. I mean, the Jets have been road warriors all year. So,
there was my question. Yeah.
So, I definitely think it's very possible. I them like you. I thought it'd be a split between the two teams. So I guess
Yeah, we all said that last week or before the last game, didn't we? That the Jets would win their game at home, and the Patriots would win their game at home. We were looking at a split. Hey, Twan, and my question just popped back in my head, so I don't want to lose it. Don't get old, man. Don't get old. They said, how has it been that the Jets have been able to be so successful on the road this year? I think they're 4-1.
4-0, like they're
4-0.
Yeah.
Defense travels.
Yeah, I think it's a mindset too. They've also played well in the fourth quarter too. I think their I think their point differential is like the most in the league actually in the fourth quarter out of anybody.
Wow,
So, yeah,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I think they just have a mentality like they're never out of any game whatsoever, and it's just like you said, defense really travels, and running game. They those are the strengths of the team, and if you could play great defense in the fourth quarter, you can run the ball, you can beat anybody, especially when you have a lead. So if they're able to have a lead too, I think they're a hard team to beat.
Really is. They really are a hard team to beat, and it's a pleasant surprise. There's no team in the AFC that I dislike as much as I like the Jets. It's probably from it goes all the way back to my mother being having a crush on Joe Namath, and it pissing my father off back in the day, and it traveled up through the Sack Exchange years and all the turf that we ate during that. But it is nice when these games mean something. They meant something during the during those days and all the way up to the Rex Ryan days, and the past couple of years has that's really changed. But Salah, go ahead, correct me. Salah has really brought this team together. And as I thought he wasn't much of an offensive mind, he's let those guys do their job on the offensive side of the ball and step back and done what he's had to do. I think that's Twan's alarm saying, "Get the hell out of here. You got to go cover practice." So, but it's just really nice that these games mean something. I really didn't think that it would when I came into this season, looking at the schedule, that that a game this early in the year was going to be this pivotal. But it's really turned into that, hasn't it, Steve?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny. Years ago, probably about 10 years ago, I had lunch with Steve Nelson, the Patriots Hall of Fame linebacker. And he told me, he played at North Dakota State. And he said he had never been to New England or New York prior to him getting drafted in the NFL. Mm-hmm. So he said, he got drafted by the Patriots. He walked into the locker room and he said there was this air, there was this permeation in the air of hating all things the Jets.
Yep.
And he said it was weird. Nobody said anything. He's like, but as soon as I walked in the locker room, I felt this, I'm paraphrasing here a little bit, but he said, I felt this hatred for the Jets. And then he said years later, he had talked to Joe Klecko, and Joe Klecko was laughing because he said when he got drafted, he's like, I don't know why I walked into the Jets locker room and I hated New England. So, there's definitely something, in the air when it comes to the Patriots and Jets. So,
buddy, hop in, ask your question. When was the last time the AFC East was this competitive? Wow, good question.
I have the answer, but go ahead.
But if you got the answer, go ahead.
I'll let Steve go first. This is his show. I'm just like the producer.
I'm racking my brain because it seemed like through the Belichick years, there was always one team on the bottom, be it the Jets, Buffalo, or Miami. I'm going to have to go back maybe the 90s when Parcells was the coach.
98.
Yep.
The Jets, Dolphins, Bills, and Patriots all made the playoffs. The Patriots played at Jacksonville with Zolak starting.
Yeah.
Miami and Buffalo played. Trace Armstrong strip sack Doug Flutie down inside the 10-yard line. And the Jets had the bye. They beat Jacksonville and then went to Denver and lost. So that was
that was what, first year Pete Carroll?
second year, 98.
Okay. Yeah.
Yep. That was the year it was all competitive.
Yeah. Because I was trying to rack my brain through the Belichick years. There's always been one team that really struggled.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we had the Colts in the division that year too.
Yeah.
That was Manning's rookie year.
2001 was a real competitive year. I remember, if I'm remembering right. And but no, with the Patriots over the last 20 years, people have made a lot of noise about, the march of the tomato cans that the Patriots faced, and that's really a garbage take. It really is. If you go into and you look back at all of the divisions in the AFC during that 20-year span, you basically see the same winning percentage for the first place team across the board, and then the second place team across the board, and then the third place team across the board. It's all the same winning percentages, and that's what you really need to look at. The only difference was the fact that the Patriots were on top of the AFC East every single year. The other three teams would switch and flip-flop around, but the winning percentages were always the same.
Well, the winning, if you go back, and I know that the guy you're talking about with the myth of the tomato cans, which he repeated year after year.
Right.
If
that's after his curse book went under Steve.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt.
Exactly. Yeah, no, that's exactly correct. But if you look at the AFC East through those years, their winning percentage against teams outside the AFC East was among the best in the league every
year. And the Patriots were playing a first place schedule every single year on top of it.
And the Patriots' record against the rest of the league was usually better than their record against the AFC East.
Right. So. And that's what, a lot of people forget over the years. You sit there and you don't see the forest for the trees.
Oh, it was just, I don't think it was that. I think it was, there was an active movement in the media still going on that they didn't like the fact that the team was winning every year and they thought it was boring. So they tried to invent this myth that they're really not that good. And, some guys from 2 to 6 took it 2 steps further, and they criticize everything the coach does. And I mean, all he did was go to 9 Super Bowls in 18 years. But I mean, but he's not there. He's lost his fastball, right? How many times have we heard that? How many times did we hear in the last 5 years that Tom Brady was under center for New England? You can see the decline. How many times did we hear that? I got sick of hearing it. You could see the decline.
It's why I stopped watching ESPN.
Yeah,
because it was just their
ESPN,
narrative.
It was locally too. And then all he did his first 2 years in Tampa Bay was throw 90 touchdowns. So, I
mean, another good question from Chris in here today. Chris, you've been amazing. Did anyone watch the Vikings-Bills game? And
absolutely.
What an ending! Oh my God, yes. That was the most exciting game that I have seen this season.
That fourth quarter was crazy,
and
I loved it.
But Steve and I were talking about this off air last night.
Yeah,
and that Davis catch should have been freaking
looked at.
I don't know how the people in Manhattan had decided not to look at that unless they purposely said, nah, we really like the Bills this year.
Well, I don't think it's that. I just think that, they were asleep at the switch there because that should have been flagged. But what stood out to me was the ridiculous catch by Jefferson.
Oh my God.
That when I saw him throw that, I was like, this is it. Ball game over. There's double coverage on him. That's a high throw. And then it was like, I could see the reactions of people on the field and on the sideline. I'm like, there's no way he caught that.
No.
That was unbelievable.
I have an observation. I want to see if you guys have noticed this. Josh Allen, you were talking about him earlier. Thing I've noticed. I'm going to go back to week 3 at Miami at the end of the first half. They were trying to kill the clock, spike the ball, and kick a field goal. He gets rattled. He gets ahead of himself. So he's out there. He's pointing around. He's doing all his things, making sure everybody's lined up. He takes the snap and fumbles the snap, picks it up, throws it to Steph Diggs, and just like a hot potato. Throws it to him. He gets tackled in bounds. They don't kick the field goal.
Right.
End of that game, he hits the guy who tore us up for 11 catches last year, the slot guy.
Gabriel Davis?
No, number 6. I can't believe it. Isaiah McKenzie.
McKenzie, yep.
So he hits him in a situation crossing the field where you need to get out of bounds, just in a bad spot rather than throwing it away. Like, it kind of speeds up on him. It really does. Now, I'm going to go back to the other day. They're in the end zone. You got to sneak it out, similar to the Seattle Super Bowl. Remember what happened? They got him to jump.
Yep.
And the fight ensued, and they got the 15 yards, and Irvin got thrown out of the game. That's called knowing your moment, being ready, prepared coaching-wise, everything. He takes the snap, doesn't even get the snap because he's 10 miles ahead of himself, fumbles the snap, it's a touchdown. Great drive. I can tell you I've talked to somebody, there is a UCL tear there. It's partial. That is a given. I've talked to somebody in the know. They are so into having to win it this year because they've put all the chips in the table. And if you look at the future, a lot of the ways they've written up contracts are not good. And they've expected guys like Gabe Davis to step up a little bit more. There's something, hitch in his giddy up as far as catching the football. They really don't have a number 2 receiver right now. They don't feel they have a running game. And guys are dropping like flies. Poyer's out, Hyde's out. Edmonds got hurt the other day.
Yep.
They kind of got anointed themselves and got anointed and read their press clippings. And not realizing that over the course of the year, there's injuries, there's weather, like going to be this weekend. That game against the Browns this weekend is going to be very interesting. Keep an eye on the weather because it's not like the Browns can't fly in because they're busting up 150 miles. So it's not like the airport will be shut down and they can say, no, or they can't come in. Like, it's supposed to be bad snow. You got Chubb on the other side. What are the Bills going to do?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's why that game last year against the Patriots went in New England's favor because they were able to run the ball a little bit, even though the Bills were sometimes putting 8 and 9 guys in the box.
Yeah. Hey, I'm sorry, guys. I just got an emergency at the front door. I've got to split. Okay. We're already into overtime, so right. I got to go.
We can wrap it up here, buddy.
Yeah,
but but it's going to be interesting. The whole rest of the season is going to be interesting, and we want to thank everyone who's been hanging in there and listening and continues to listen. Make sure you subscribe to us on YouTube and Twitter, Instagram, whatever Buddy's got up there. Make sure you do that and subscribe to all of us so you can give us a rating, bring more people to the not only to the podcast but to E2G Sports overall. And for Buddy and I, thanks for hanging in there, and we'll be back next week.
All righty, have a good one. Thank you.
Thank you.